Okay everyone, round one of the Rugby Championship kicks off this weekend. This year we've got two games in place for the Rugby Championship. We've got the official game and we've got Superbru. I won't go into massive detail on the formats of either game in this video, as I covered this in much more detail, as well as covering some winning strategies in a video I released earlier this week. There's going to be a link up there. But very quickly, these are the high level points that you need to know about these games. First up, the official game. The official game is a salary cap style fantasy game from the makers of the official Super Rugby fantasy game. So if you played that, you're going to be familiar with the format. You've got a budget of 100 million to fill your team with 15 players. You can make unlimited transfers throughout the tournament, so load up with players who you think will go well for each round. In the official game, we've also got 3 boosters available. These are the triple captain, so your chosen player will have his match score tripled. Limitless, you'll have unlimited budget for 1 round only. And co-captain, so for 1 round only, you're going to be able to select 2 players to get double points. Each booster can only be used once, so use them carefully. For those who played the Super Rugby game, the biggest differences are the additional points for a 50-22, which will give you a massive 10 points for every 50-22 kicked, as well as updates for the total number of players that you can select for each nation. You can select up to 6 players from each nation, but you also have to select a minimum of 3 players from each nation as well, so you can't just load up with your favourites. One other point to mention is the excellent prizes on offer. Zanzar have been very generous with their prizes, with a massive $5,000 for the overall winner. Second place also gets $2,500. Third place, $1,000. Very generous. There's also going to be a weekly prize of $150 for the winners of each round of the game. So definitely sign up, it's well worth doing. Make sure as well that you've joined the Fantasy Rugby Geek League. We've already got over 300 players signed up. The league pin to join is L12HXKW8, and the direct link to join is in this video description. Next up to Superbru. Superbru will be very familiar to many, but for those of you new to it, again, Superbru is a fantasy game in the salary cap style. You've got $100 million to build a squad of 23 players, 1 in each field position plus 1 reserve for each position. You're limited to 6 players per team, and once the tournament gets underway, you can make 6 transfers each round, and any extra transfers beyond that incur a 6-point hit. As with the official game, there's an FRG league set up, which you can join by logging into Superbru and entering the code BEGSSEWS, or using the direct link here in the video description. Okay, speaking of leagues, so I've set up the 2 leagues that I mentioned just now, but I've also set up a third very special prize league available for the Rugby Championship on the official game. For those of you who followed me during the Six Nations, you may remember the podcast that I made through the Six Nations with my friend Paul Tristram. It was called Six Nations Fantasy Rugby Geeks on the Go. Last week, Paul was dealt the devastating news that he requires immediate heart surgery. Due to misreadings on his scans, it's become critical that he gets the surgery as soon as possible. Due to no fault of his own, there are no NHS appointments available until January next year, and as a result, his immediate surgery will need to be scheduled privately, costing him £30,000. So a GoFundMe page has been set up by Paul's fiancée, by his family and his friends to raise funds for his surgery, and the link to this can be found in this video description. To help raise funds, I've set up prize leagues for both the Rugby Championship and for the Women's Rugby World Cup, which starts next week. 50% of the prize pot will go directly to Paul's GoFundMe, and the remaining 50% will go to the winners of the league. The entry fee to join the Rugby Championship League is £10. The prize pot will be distributed with 25% of the total pot delivered to the winner of the league, 15% to second place and 10% to third place. And the remaining 50% will go directly to Paul's GoFundMe page. To join, just get in touch. You can email me at fantasyrugbygeek@gmail.com. You can direct message me at the Fantasy Rugby Geek X page. You can direct message me on the Fantasy Rugby Geek Instagram page. Just get in touch. I'll share with you the details of my PayPal so that you can send me the entry fee, and then I will send you the details to join the league. Thank you. Okay, back to the tips. In this video, I'm primarily focusing on the official game. So I'm looking at players who should score well in that format, but generally speaking, they should also score pretty well in Superbru too. And then I'm going to run through some value options at the end of the video to ensure that you have some options and enablers to allow you to spend budget big elsewhere, but also to ensure that you hit the quota of the minimum 3 players per nation. So if you're struggling for Argentina or Australia options, then make sure you watch on to the end. Okay, firstly, a quick run through the matches. Round 1 will kick off with last year's champion and the world ranked #1 team South Africa taking on last year's bottom placed team Australia at Ellis Park in Joburg. In both matches last year, which were both played in Australia, the Boks came out on top, winning 33-7 and 30-12 respectively. The Wallabies looked to have kicked on from then, showing promise in the autumn and again during the Lions tour, but this could well be a step too far for them. Then in the second match, Argentina host New Zealand. In round 1 last year, Argentina secured a historic win over New Zealand in Wellington, winning 38-30, although in the following week the All Blacks came back to defeat Argentina convincingly, 42-10. Argentina hosts this time round and will be looking to make a statement after a disappointing run of defeats at home to England earlier in the summer tours. Prediction-wise, looking at the data from our friends at Rugby Forecast, the algorithm is suggesting a convincing win for the Boks and also a tight victory for the All Blacks away in Argentina. So now a quick run through of my recommended players for round 1. So these are some of the top fantasy options in each position in my opinion. You'll also need to blend these with some value options that I'll be covering later in the video. So starting from the top with the props. First up, kicking off with Oxenche, a world-class scrummager, unstoppable from close range. He's a great option to pick up the scrum 1 points. The only issue with Nche really is, as it is with most of the Boks front row, is they'll likely come off early in the second half. Then I've got a cheap alternative to Nche, Taniela Tupu. He's also got his well-known carrying ability. Again, minutes are concerned for Tupu, but in the third Lions test, he was on for 60 minutes and he really showed flashes of his old self. And then we've got James Slipper, another reliable option who always scores well in this format and can definitely fill one of your Australia quota. Moving into the hookers, the first name I've got here is an absolute legend of the game, monster fantasy talent, it's Malcolm Marks. Good for maul tries, scrums won, turnovers and offloads. He's an ever reliable fantasy option. Again, as with most of the Boks pack, minutes are the only real concern. And then I've got a great alternative that fills one of your Argentina quota. It's Julian Montoya. He should get plenty of minutes. Again, he's a try threat, but he also has the all-round game that will keep the fantasy points ticking over. Moving into the second row, a couple of good out of position options here. So first up, in the game's the second row, but playing the back row is Tupu Vai'i. He was a top scoring second row in the Super Rugby fantasy game, and he always delivers. He's an easy selection as one of your locks. For the other gap, I'm looking at some Aussie options. So Nick Frost, firstly, is a big danger in the line-out, but he's also deceptively fast and is an occasional try threat as well, who should also get the full 80. And then finally, as an alternative, we have another out of position option in Tom Hooper. Hooper tends to score very well in this format. He's a tackle machine, but just don't be surprised if he makes way for Lange Gleeson at some point in the second half. Okay, into the back row, and obviously we had to take Ardie Savea. He's 70% owned, and for good reason. He's a world-class all-round talent that simply does everything. If you're one of the 30% who doesn't have him, it's time for you to get very nervous. Next up, Pieter-Steph du Toit, another world-class all-rounder who's going to deliver the points. Maybe less so on the attacking side, but for tackles, lineouts and turnovers, he'll always be delivering. Then I've got my eye on 2 other Australian options. First up, Harry Wilson, who's a relentless ball carrier and will rack up the meters. Barring injury, he'll be on the field for the full 80, and he scored really well in this format for the Super Rugby fantasy game. Then finally, as an alternative, we have Fraser McCreight. So following the news today that Australia are switching to a 5-3 split with Nick Champion de Crespigny dropping out, McCreight will probably also be on for the full 80, and as always, you can expect him to deliver both in attack and defence. Okay, scrum halves into the backs now, and my first pick is the explosive Grant Williams. Lightning quick, Williams is always in attacking danger around the fringes and also can cover on the wing if needed. Right up there with Williams is also Cortez Ratimer, another dangerous sniping try threat. He'll be looking to take full advantage of getting the starting scrum half spot for the All Blacks in Cam Roygaard's absence. Fly halves now. My first fly half is Beauden Barrett. Not as fast as he used to be, but he's still a lethal attacking danger. He's going to be at the centre of everything for the All Blacks on Saturday. And then alternatively, there's Manny Lebock. While he won't deliver the same attacking returns of Beauden Barrett, he should definitely have plenty of opportunities to gain fantasy points through kicks at goal. Into the centres now, and my first pick is Billy Proctor of the All Blacks. He had an outstanding end of the season for the Hurricanes in Super Rugby and should absolutely fly on Saturday. Tries, assists and line breaks, he's capable of bringing it all. Next up, Geordie Barrett, ever reliable at international and club level, capable of creating, carrying and scoring. Geordie is always a safe bet. Finally, we have Andre Esterhazen, capable of getting big points through line breaks, line break assists and offloads, as safe a pair of hands as you can find. Okay, now we move on to the outside backs, and these are the guys you really want to focus the majority of your budget on. It's also worth considering potentially using one of your boosters on one of these guys this week. First up, we've got Kurt Lee-Arenza, a lethal attacking threat with 21 tries in 27 international appearances. Over the last 2 years, he scored 5 tries against Australia, including a memorable hat-trick in 2023. You'll also get those meters carried and defenders beaten. Next up, Edwill van der Merwe, the ex-Lions man who's moving on to the Sharks next season, has started his international career on an absolute flyer with 5 tries in his first 3 caps for the Springboks. It would take a brave person to bet against him scoring in his first 4 consecutive tests. Next up has to be Will Jordan, one of the best, if not the best, finishers in World Rugby with 42 tries in 45 appearances. Starting at fullback this weekend as well, he should get plenty of meter points. And then finally, we've got Sevu Reece. His style of play really scored well in this fantasy format for the Super Rugby game. And with his defenders beaten and line break ability, he's always going to be building up a big fantasy total. Next up, a quick word on who I'm looking at for captain picks for round 1. My shortlist of 3 starts with Kurt Lee-Arenza, then we've got Edwill van der Merwe, and then Will Jordan. No big surprises there. All 3 are capable of hauling this weekend and are all good options for the triple captain booster, or even potentially putting the co-captain on 2 of them. Finally, let's take a look at some value picks. So on the official game, not only is budget tight, but you must select a minimum of 3 players for every country. So here we've got a list of good value options that allow you to spend big elsewhere, but also from this list you should find some options from the underdog teams to bring in. If you're looking for good value players at the low end of the budget for your team, then the following players, all in the lower cost tiers of their position, should deliver for their price. Okay, so starting with the props, we've got Maiko Vivas from Argentina, 3.5 million. Taniela Tupu, who've already mentioned, 3.5 million as well, is an absolute bargain. Hooker Billy Pollard always seems to deliver, one of the top try scorers in Super Rugby this season. He's easily the cheapest hooker in the game at 5.5 million. Tom Hooper, another player we've already mentioned, out of position and available for 3.5 million. If you're looking for another Argentina option, Pedro Rubiolo is also available for 3.5 million. Then we've got Nick Frost, still good value at 4 million. Then into the loose forwards, Joaquin Oviedo is starting at number 8 for Argentina, a strong carrier and available for just 5 million, which is an absolute bargain in the back row. Duplessis Karifi is also available for 5.5 million. He's delivered well in Super Rugby this season, although he does seem to attract penalties as well. Moving into the back line then, Len Ikitau available for 6.5 million in the centres. Again, he was one of the top fantasy performers in Super Rugby this season. Edwill van der Merwe, we've already mentioned, for 6.5 million. He is the biggest bargain in the game, and you've just got to bring him in at that price. And then finally, Afalele Fassi, an alternative option in the South African back line, will always get meters, will always get defenders beaten, and he's available, like van der Merwe, just for 6.5 million. So that's it for now. I really hope that ramble was helpful. More details can be found over at fantasyrugbygeek.com with my round 1 picks post, which is now live. And if you want to see my full team revealed, then head over to my membership site, as always, at buymeacoffee.com, where you'll be able to share your team with me for direct feedback on any changes I recommend. Make sure you give me a follow on X, Blue Sky, Threads, Insta, TikTok for any breaking fantasy news. And make sure you sign up to the game today. Join my leagues, especially the Prize League for Pool. You can find the links to all the leagues in my video description. The Rugby Championship is an awesome tournament, so make sure you sign up to the game. Enjoy the rugby and good luck.